Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Anything Wrestling Podcast. Thank you once again for joining us. We are back here today with a much more serious episode. Usually on this podcast, we like to joke around, have a good time naturally, but today's topic is a little bit more serious. Let me forewarn everyone that if you're sensitive to sexual assault or suicide, you might want to click away from the episode. We're going to be discussing a very serious topic here today. Recently, Ashley Massaro sadly passed away at the young age of 39. I was shocked. I think we were all shocked. Details came out a couple days later. I read the details and I thought that we needed to dedicate a specific episode to talking about this because it's a very serious thing, especially in today's day and age where mental health, it's getting that, awareness, it's getting that, attention of, everyone advocating for everybody to take care of themselves, to, talk about things. So on behalf of myself, Dan, and the commish, we welcome you to this episode. And first of all, guys, before we get started, I just wanted to get your take. What did you guys personally think of Ashley Massaro? I think, Dan, we'll start off with you because I remember you said you went to WrestleMania 23, so you were able to be there live and see her perform. Granted, it was not exactly a 5-star match, but you were still there. What was your overall take of Ashley, and did you have any particular, affection for her, especially being there at WrestleMania 23?
So obviously we know she won the Diva Search, which is how she got her foot in the door, yeah. And I'm just going to reference a detail from the thing to bring that up. She mentions, so she was given the option of either being going and training as a wrestler under a contract, or just taking the $250,000 and being essentially a non-wrestling spokesperson. And according to her affidavit in court, the 15-page document that you can, I don't know if you can find the whole document online, but there's plenty of places where there's summaries. She had opted to be a non-wrestling spokesperson, and then they kind of forced her into being a wrestler anyway with no training. So I don't think she was ever a stellar professional wrestler, but I don't recall her being horrendous for apparently what she was working with. At the time, she was a certain degree of eye candy at the time, and obviously that's probably what played into her ultimately being one of the Playboy models that WWE put forward. Pretty girl, relatively talented for apparently having no official training or no formal training in wrestling. And just having to kind of pick it up on the fly. So I mean, I guess to a degree, there's a little bit of a warm spot in my heart for Ashley Massaro because of that. But yeah, I mean, as a fan, obviously, there's probably female wrestlers that I would gravitate more toward. Yeah. But as a person, no, Ashley Massaro was solid.
Okay. Kamish?
I mean, kind of having seen some of her career, like, in and out throughout the time she was in the WWE, I mean, it's not like she didn't stand out. It's not like she wasn't going to be one of the main talents that would win the prize and end up being in WWE. I think what it is like, as soon as you put yourself into this, like, career, you know that you're gonna go through a lot as far as, like, physical and mental strain. Throughout that time, I'm assuming, because it was the highlight of the Attitude Ruthless Aggression era. A lot was being asked of a lot of performers as far as, like, the violence, the promiscuity, obviously the sexuality was there. I mean, there was a lot of divas. There was a lot of hey, let's show off how edgy and how much sex sells and all that. But even putting her into like, hey, not only are you a diva, but you're gonna have to compete as well. Obviously, that does a lot to somebody. I mean, she stood out as far as like, you know, having a good personality. She was never someone that I guess wasn't a crowd favorite, and also like outside of the WWE wasn't someone that, oh, I can't get along with her. Oh, she brings controversy along with her. No, she seemed to always be like a good person overall. Granted, she did retire early in her career, and that she was trying to make a comeback into wrestling. Again, when you're asked to do a lot throughout your lifetime, and it does wear on you mentally, it does take a lot out of you. I mean, and it's not just for her, it's anyone in general in anything they do. And you know, being that this month it is Mental Health Awareness Month, it should be stated that, you know, we should all look out for everybody that we care about, or even people we don't really know. Like if there's someone you see like just struggling or just having a bad day, like it doesn't take that much to just ask the question like, hey, are you okay? Or hey, do you need a talk, or do you need a vent, or, you know, just ask what's going on. I mean, yeah, it's hard because unfortunately we lately live in a world where number one comes first, but it's okay to not only just look out for people who need help, but if you yourself needed some kind of help, it's not that hard to ask. I mean, I'm pretty sure at one point the people around her were kind of noticing if she was or wasn't okay. And
you would also imagine that the people around her that were aware of some of the things that were ultimately unveiled regarding certain instances on tour, or the fact that she was thrown into these wrestling matches with no training, so she was chronically getting hurt, that you would assume would take a toll on you, and that those around you would probably have a little bit of an idea. It's just whether or not they would do something about it, I suppose.
You know, my sentiments on Ashley Massaro, once again, her WWE career was not exactly the longest. You know, being a teenager, you have a certain affection for a, you know, very attractive, you know, looking woman like her, especially at that time. I can't really say that she's had a match that really sticks out to me or all that, because once again, back then it was the lingerie pillow fights, it was the, you know, wet t-shirt contest, so you weren't exactly getting, you know, the Iron Woman matches or the steel cage matches. Yeah, I mean, I was actually shocked beyond anything, you know, when I read the article that she had passed away. Very, very sad story. And, you know, we're going to discuss the details here in just a second, but I mean, you know, there was a particular reason why I wanted to do this episode, because I just felt like it was necessary. It was our way of paying tribute to her, and also by the same token, raising awareness and sort of advocating to. I know we advocate a lot of things on this podcast, but one thing that I think we all advocate for is, like once you said, you know, Kamish, is if something's going on, you see someone's having a bad day, it never hurts to just ask that person, hey, is everything okay? Granted, there's times where people still shy away and say, no, everything is fine, I'm okay. But just the idea that they acknowledge that someone's there for them is a big step. So, Dan, if you want to read off some of the details as to what was sort of the leading cause behind Ashley's death.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with just this little section from the Wikipedia page. On May 16th, 2019, 10 days before her 40th birthday, Massaro died in Long Island after being transported from her home to a hospital. On May 19th, at Money in the Bank, WWE paid tribute to Massaro's life and career by projecting a graphic of her. And on May 21st, TMZ reported that Massaro's death was due to an apparent suicide by hanging. So this is not the first time in wrestling where people have committed suicide due to extenuating circumstances. Some are by injury, are driven by injury. Some are probably depression based. Some of it goes hand in hand. I'm just going to throw some names in and then I'll jump over. But instances like Mike Awesome, Stevie Richards, if you're familiar with who we're referring to there, Brian Christopher, Crash Holly, Chris Canyon, Ashley, Sean O'Hare. Those are the major names that I recognize from this list. But there's at least 20 names on this list. So it's not an uncommon thing, and you hear about connections to concussions and things, and that that's a widespread issue, not just in professional wrestling. Like, I bet if you search NFL player suicides, you're gonna find a shit ton there too. But I'm gonna jump back in now and kind of burn through some of the details here that are in the affidavit. So Ashley came in, I think it was 2002 into the, right? It was that Diva search, 2002?
2005?
5 or 6.
Okay, so she came into the WWE via that. And
2005.
okay, so in 2005. And as I mentioned, she was given the choice of, do you want to become a wrestler or do you want to be a spokesperson? And she said, I want to be a spokesperson. And we've heard details over the years of WWE not always being the most ethical in their handlings of things.
During that time.
Yeah, and so she mentions that WWE tried to con her out of a chunk of her prize money from the contest. Then they essentially tricked her into becoming a wrestler instead of the non-wrestling spokesperson, which caused her to, right here, aside from numerous concussions, I received a multitude of other injuries. Due to WWE's failure to properly train me, I suffered a hairline fracture in my spine and numerous back injuries, and ultimately was diagnosed with herniated discs. So, you hear with injuries like that, a lot of professional wrestlers get addicted to painkillers because they just can't really handle the day-to-day living with it, because I'm sure it's not comfortable. I've had a misaligned spine that I go to a chiropractor for once in a while, and just the 2 days where my back is a little wonky, I'm miserable. So I can't imagine having legitimate injuries. And then, aside from my ongoing physical injuries that were sustained, and her former battle with addiction, she suffers from depression. So when you put together somebody who has an addictive personality and depression, sometimes they can get carried away with stuff. But here seems to be the biggest catalyst that probably kind of started the firestorm. And that was when the WWE went to Kuwait for a tribute to the troops kind of tour. And she says, described herself as a strong supporter of the military and was enthusiastic when chosen to represent them. And they went over with all kinds of people, Ron Simmons, Maria Kanellis. And from the get-go, she says that she was being harassed because she was blonde hair, blue eyes, or light eyes. I don't know if she actually had blue eyes. But so at one point, she starts to not feel so hot. And the soldiers are like, "Oh, you're dehydrated. Let's take you over to the hospital. Let's take you to the hospital on the base." And she says that she was at the hospital for a while, and then he described as a man in an orange T-shirt and cargo shorts, who claimed to be an army doctor, comes up, gives her an IV, apparently without her consent. And in the process, injects her with some sort of drug. And she describes it that she became physically paralyzed, but was conscious. And so this is where I'm going to try to mince some words because this is a long section, but I'm going to go into a little bit of detail here. So if you are a rape survivor, know somebody who's a rape survivor, are uneasy with this sort of detail, you might want to skip ahead a little bit. 3, 2, 1. So it says that the man proceeded to violently rape and sodomize me. I was completely helpless. I remained fully conscious for every second of the attack. I felt excruciating pain as a result of this man penetrating me by force. Each second was excruciating, and I'd never been more terrified in my life. It was a living nightmare. And so apparently this was some sort of birthday present for this guy, either taken by himself or organized by some of the soldiers. And it says that there was even a female soldier standing guard outside the room while this was happening. It says eventually Gary Hart returned to the hospital to check on her, and at that point those two had already left. They left very quickly. Gary finds her not in a good condition, takes her back to the hotel, and she wakes up a while later, having regained faculty of her body at this point. But yeah, so you're over there to engage with these soldiers, and not everybody in the world, not everybody in the military is going to be a good person. There's a certain degree of, I don't know if camaraderie is the right word here, but fraternity. We'll say fraternity, which has a negative connotation for some people. There's a certain degree of fraternity within any organization, military included, where I'm assuming sometimes bad people find each other. And so it's possible that this could have been a group organized activity. Oh, hey, we got the WWE coming in. Oh man, I really like this. And they put this sadistic plan into place. Or they try, and then it just works. But so then WWE, so her ticket goes missing as they're about to leave. She gets left behind. Everyone else dips. Everybody else comes back, leaves her alone in Saudi Arabia as this blonde hair, light-eyed white woman, or seemingly white woman. I don't actually know her ethnicity, but she's just left alone. And so she's got to get back there. She meets with a doctor. The doctor examines her, and then she has to present her case in front of a boardroom of men. Doesn't that sound like America? And so, Vince, what's it say here? So Vince has her recount the happenings, and he apologized for the stress, but cautioned her that if she made it public, it would ruin the relationship between WWE and the U.S. military. I think that's about where I'm going to stop in this summary, because it then just kind of trickles downhill at that point. But my last point from this moment is, sounds like Vince. If you go back to Saudi Arabia, man. If you go back to Saudi Arabia with, I can't even remember how to say the last name anymore, but the journalist. And the fact that WWE was like, yeah, it's shitty, but we got a show to
show what's going.
So much money
invested,
and you even have wrestlers who, for the upcoming shows and for them, were like, "No, I ain't going.
We're out. What are you guys doing?"
They stand by their word.
And so these details don't really surprise me. I would absolutely buy into all of this as plausible.
His name was Jamal Khashoggi.
Yeah.
Now, once again, granted, you know, I know there's people out there who might think, oh, just because Ashley Massaro spews it out doesn't mean that it's true. 100% I agree, but circumstance here and just knowing how WWE tends to handle these types of things, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, that does sound like Vince, where it's like, something bad happened to you, okay, but I don't want to damage, you know, the image of my company, so let's just keep it a secret. Yeah, cool. Off you go.
Yeah.
Here's some money.
And I mean, we've seen situations where people get essentially terrorized by management in the WWE because they do something that they don't agree with. They do something that rubs them the wrong way. They're associated with the wrong people.
I think one of the biggest killers. So I believe this whole thing happened in 07 or 08 or somewhere around there.
It was ballpark, yeah.
So if Ashley really hadn't talked to anyone, she was basically holding this inside of her for 12 years. And it's like to kind of be able to put that into perspective. I mean, back then, PG era, I think barely had started. WWE was barely going HD. You know, John Cena was still actively on your roster.
It even says nobody really recommended she get therapy for trying to deal with the trauma.
Which I'm shocked, because WWE is really good about bringing, you know, addicts or, you know, former addicts who need help and bringing them into their, what do you call it?
Wellness.
The wellness program? Yeah, the rehab that they have. So they have a track record of helping people out, and it's like, this was like a mental thing. Like, you couldn't find her someone to talk to, a therapist, a shrink, or someone just to let her, you know. So, and of course, we like to think that this was, like you said, Dan, the catalyst for why she eventually took her own life. Keep in mind, she has a daughter who, I don't know who it was, but they started, you know, a GoFundMe to help her daughter out with her.
I don't know if it was Lillian or not, but I saw the video where Lillian was kind of steering, and then they edited all the clips together. I'll sorry, I'll let you.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that they put together this video for, I think they were calling her Lexi. Her name's Alexa, the daughter.
Oh.
I think. That's what they referred to her as. But, yeah, you just had all of these women who Ashley had apparently interacted with throughout her career posting these little videos or submitting these little videos that were edited into one long thing where they were talking to her daughter, saying, your mom was great, I loved her, la da da da. It was sweet. Like, I watched it. Could there be some opportunists in there who are just like, well, this seems like a good opportunity to get some good FaceTime? Sure. But you had a handful of people that probably actually worked with her, and a lot of the videos seemed sincere. But I think it was Lillian that was starting it, but go ahead.
And I mean, one of the things that I also wanted to tie in was that I don't know if many of our viewers know, and I don't even know if you guys know. I think I probably threw it out there in one of our group texts. But Eve Torres, as of recent, former WWE diva or wrestler, whatever you want to call her, recently came out and said, yeah, back in, I think, 2012, that she had also been sexually assaulted. Very, very tough deal, but at least Eve kind of got that opportunity to kind of let it out of her system and go, here's what happened to me.
Yeah.
And so I think I wouldn't be shocked if there are still people, specifically women wrestlers, still in WWE who still maybe have been sexually assaulted, but still haven't said a word or said anything just because they might be afraid, or going back, they were probably told, hey, this is going to probably look bad on us, so just shh. But the one thing that just galls me is just WWE's whole thing of like, something horrible happened to you. Yeah, we don't really care. Just we care about our image more. So just shh, and off you go. That just infuriated me. And it's like, I want to believe it, because usually in these circumstances, WWE, it's like, this is how they act. You know, they care more about their image. They care more about, it's like,
sweeping it under the rug.
Exactly.
You'd almost think that maybe it would look better for the company if they acknowledged their failure and said, we're going to be better, we're going to seek help for her, and They then become more involved with sexual assault survivors.
Yeah.
You would think that would almost be a better political play.
Especially in, like Kamish said, like in May.
Yeah.
So.
So I don't know why they are so scared. And this is unrelated and probably out of place a little bit. And I know we mentioned before we went on air that maybe they're getting a little bit ahead of themselves. But maybe having a new startup like AEW that's creating so much buzz for themselves and obviously hasn't been around long enough to create their own controversy. Maybe this will inspire WWE to play the proper angles instead of being like, we gotta be quiet, don't say anything. And they'll actually take care of their fucking people. But I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, like, I know I haven't really said much so far.
Yeah, we've kind of dominated.
No, it's fine. It's hard to take in.
It's a tough subject.
And the reason why, and so it's kind of hard to admit this, but like I've personally do deal with stuff in regards to like how to handle like my own anxiety and my own demons sometimes, and like, you know, it's hard to ask for help, and sometimes it's scary because you think like someone will either take advantage of you or someone will really just like be an opportunist, you know, and take advantage of you. And maybe that's the situation with her. We don't know, but it shouldn't be an issue. It should never be a problem to seek guidance. And if you are a company like the WWE where you know you're a household name for like generations now, and if you've known that once your competitors leave, your athletes or the individuals you employed, because at the end of the day they're still human beings, they're still people, you as a company should know the after effects of what's going to happen to these people after they retire or they stop, or, you know, whatever it is they decide to do with their career. You should have a program in place to help,
like a gateway out.
Because sometimes there's these athletes who leave either to continue their career somewhere else or to start a new life for themselves, but they're still traumatized by all the head injuries, like all the painkiller overdosing, and it's traumatic. Like I'm looking over a list right now of like people who've either died of like heart attacks or suicide or drug overdoses. The list is pretty high up there. Like Crash Holly, he committed suicide via drug overdose. Sean O'Hare, he hung himself. And everyone's favorite blacklisted WWE, WCW, ECW alumnus, Stevie Richards. Everyone knows that story, but you can't tell me that a guy who would perform a Stevie DDT like he didn't suffer from mental issues, didn't suffer from mental trauma.
Yeah, damage to the actual brain.
Like super damage. Like, and you mentioned earlier, Dan, about NFL players who go through this as well, as far as concussion protocol, and almost commit and not almost, but do commit suicide because of head trauma. Like, there should be so much awareness about this that it's like, you can't sweep this under the rug. You can't say, oh, well, you guys need to, shut the hell up. This is making us look bad. Get some money, go take care of yourself. No, you can't. It shouldn't be that way. You need to find a way to get these people a proper outlet. Because look at what it causes.
You know, kind of not related, but I'm kind of going to tie it in. AEW Double or Nothing was this past Saturday. Personally, for me, Cody versus Dustin was the match of the night. I wouldn't be lying if I said while watching the match, I was very, very concerned for Dustin because I think I told you guys, not seeing someone bleed like that in a long time and then seeing it, I'm like, I got flashbacks to Stevie Richards. I'm like,
well, did you see when his sister-in-law hit him in the head?
Oh, Brandy.
Yeah, when Brandy hit Dustin in the head.
I
The move. This is, and I remember it clearly because of what we're talking about. So Cody kind of like, what is it when you like kind of like entangle your legs to make someone trip? Like a drop toe hold.
Drop toe hold. Yeah.
He drop toe hold Dustin onto that exposed ring post.
Yeah.
But no one noticed because of the calamity or whatever was going on. To notice, like at the bottom of your screen, you see Brandy run over with something and hit him in the head.
I think one of them said it was Cody's cane.
But
they didn't put much emphasis on it.
There was like a wolf stone at the end of it, which is what.
And it's like, okay, I get it. You know, you're playing into the fact that you cut him open, but I haven't seen someone squirt blood like that in a good while.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
I felt like it was 2004 all over again.
I was scared for a second. I'm like, look, it's a great match. He's putting on a hell of a performance, but who's to say that he might collapse at any second?
Well, they like Jim Ross and was it Excalibur?
I think so.
Whatever their names are, they'll mention that next time. They were saying like, oh, you know, he's blinded. If you're being blinded by the blood dripping down your face, like, okay, I know we're not supposed to stop the match because we're new, we're edgy, whatever, but WWE is kind of taking into awareness now of people's health during matches.
Well, especially because you mentioned it, since the whole Stevie Richards thing, that's when WWE was like, okay, we got to cut this, we got to stop that, we got to minimize this.
And it's because it affected more people than just that person.
Yeah.
They started to realize.
Yeah, the severity of it. Because, like, they probably were kind of like, well, he killed himself. Whatever. But as soon as it turned into a double murder-suicide, then you're like, okay, we should probably take care of these people, because shit.
Well, I hope WWE realized that this didn't just affect Ashley Massaro. It's not affecting her daughter.
No, but I'm saying, like,
you
look at it on paper, you're like, oh, person is dead. But then if you've got person dead kills family, then they go, this is more severe, which is probably why that one was the catalyst.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, if Stevie was still around and then this happened, WWE probably wouldn't pay it any mind.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like, I still think about certain like wrestlers that are still alive to this day and who have taken massive, if not almost death-defying hits to their bodies and their head. Like, one in particular is always Mick Foley. Like,
I think he's talked about his own struggles with depression, hasn't he?
I
think so, but lucky for him, he's been doing DDP yoga recently, which has really been.
And my thing with him, it's like, okay, like don't get me wrong, like I love Dwayne. I'm always gonna be a fan of The Rock, but we recall one of their matches where 16 headshots with a metal chair,
headshots with
the chair.
Handcuffed. Yep.
And it's like back then, you're like, obviously as a kid, you're like freaked out that it's happening, but you're also like, whether you're a fan of The Rock or Mankind, like, oh shit, this is insane. Yeah. You look back at it now, knowing what the product is, knowing how storylines are, knowing that they're professionals and they practice this, even though those shots are really violent, you're like...
Yeah, he swung on those. That was gnarly.
That was like a baseball bat swing. 16 times. And to me, it's like, that should be enough. Hell, after 2, it should have been enough.
The one that sticks out to me is when, I think it's probably the third headshot where The Rock hits him and Mick Foley's still on his feet. He's like, come on, do it. And then The Rock just swings back and hits him again.
But you can tell even before he did it, he's like, should I keep going? You even saw a hesitation like, you want to stop now? I'm like, and he's telling him to swing, and it's like, all right. shit like that, honestly, it's scary to watch now because it's like, if you look forward into what these companies are doing, it's like you always want to worry about head trauma. You want to worry about like all these injuries and how much. I'm pretty sure in the back they're like, oh, I need painkillers or I need something for this, and it's like you're hoping as a company now they're trying to really like, no, you don't need pills. You do need some time off. Let's get you some proper like health, like let's get you taken care of properly, because honestly, like it's scary to think that they're not trying to help people, that they're just trying to brush it under the rug with money and like, oh, you deal with it yourself, here's enough money for you to deal with it. And unfortunately the improper way to deal with it, when you're given a shit ton of money, oh, let me buy painkillers, let me buy drugs. Yeah, I'll deal with it myself. Not, I'm gonna go
that's
to
probably
rehab.
That's probably the mentality is, well, all I want to do is feel better, and you guys aren't helping me, so I guess I'll go into business for myself, and that's what sends these people down a slippery slope.
And that's the scary part. That's always the scariest thing about it. And
it's cheaper to buy a bottle of pills than go to multiple therapy sessions.
Yeah. And I mean, this is why when the whole Becky Lynch thing happened, where she broke her nose and got her face busted, I'm like, I know everybody's like, oh, but we want to see the match. Yeah, the match is fine, but the wrestler's health comes first.
Yeah, take care of your people.
Yeah.
Can I jump in with this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So going off of the, I'm gonna use that as my segue. You said money. So you brought up cost of taking care of these people. I pulled up sexual assault stats, given the fact that this is the primary. Primary impact on this story. I'm just gonna pick out the ones that actually seem relevant. So the lifetime cost of rape per victim is $122,461, and you assume that that's probably for healthcare, for therapy. In some cases, probably lifetime. Children are expensive. Yeah. So I don't think this is necessarily count, but mostly probably therapy and hospital costs.
Okay.
Annually, rape costs the U.S. more than any other crime, $127 billion, followed by assault, $93 billion, murder, $71 billion, and drunk driving, including fatalities, which is $61 billion. So rape costs the United States twice as much as drunk driving. 81% of women and 35% of men report significant short or long-term impacts such as PTSD. Yeah. In this situation, 81%. So she's in the majority, the high majority of people that were dealing with this. Healthcare is 16% higher for women who were sexually abused as children, and 36% higher for women who were physically and sexually assaulted. She's not a child. That one's not relevant. If you're able to cut that one, go for it. Jumping back up. Okay, so how frequently do you think men are raped? If you took a stab at the number, one in how many men?
I'm assuming it's a high number. But
just throw one out there.
1,000?
No.
100?
Closer. 71. 1 in 71 men.
Jesus Christ.
1 in 5 women. 20% of women will be raped at some point in their lives. That is a significantly off scale. Not to downplay male rape, but basically
any form of rape is still wrong.
Yeah.
No matter how you call it.
But you've probably both heard, and a lot of the viewers have probably heard, everybody probably knows a woman who's been sexually assaulted. And that's because that's 1 in 5.
Or if you don't know, chances are you know someone that just maybe hasn't disclosed it to you yet.
Or they're afraid to even say anything.
Yeah.
In the U.S., 1 in 3 women, 1 in 6 men experience some sort of contact sexual violence in their lifetime. And then the last one was... Oh, there were two more, actually. 91% of victims of rape and sexual assault are female. And then the last one was... Where did it go? I don't actually know where it was. There we go. Rape is the most underreported crime. 63% go unreported.
Which Ashley Massaro was a part of.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
Her stuff didn't come out.
And the thing with that is it's not the easiest thing to ever really talk about. It's not the easiest thing because those victims feel like if it's someone outside of my family, like, yeah, I can speak about it, but it's still something very degrading. If it's someone within my family that did it, it's just as bad. It's degrading, and it's something that, quote unquote, may tear my family apart.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I can understand why 63% of people don't really report it. But unfortunately,
well, it's also
it's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's also contributed by the culture in this country where not to shit on America, but where it seems like a lot of these things are disregarded.
Yeah.
Or
dismissed.
Not taken seriously. Like, I'm going to go back to Brett Kavanaugh, his hearing to become a judge. And you have, what's her first name? Blasey, the woman giving the testimony. The media was all over trying to discredit her. And I'll be honest, whether it's all true or not, whether she was accurately remembering details or not, why wasn't it being taken seriously? Details were valid enough.
Christine Blasey?
Yes, Christine Blasey. And that's just the most publicized example of this as of late. But it happens every day where people speak up, like in high schools, for Christ's sake. Girl gets raped by somebody somewhere in the school, and she goes and she reports it, and then somebody goes, are you sure? Or they try to again sweep it under the rug. You don't want to mess up that person's career. Don't want to mess up their life. Are you fucking kidding me? What kind of culture is that for just a society, not even just America, but a society to function under, where we don't want to affect other people's lives when they did something horrendous?
No, that's the thing. We can't be like, unfortunately, like, we live in that type of world where it's like, oh no, we can't let that scandal affect my life. Like, no.
Yeah.
If you genuinely have an issue or a problem, you should not live in the fear of being told that you can't talk about it. You should live in a world where, hey, I need help. I need someone to talk to about this. Where can I go seek the proper help for it? Not, oh, I'm going to ruin somebody's life because I have an issue. No, I find that to be bullshit.
Well, let me bring up the counter argument to that, is that it seems like, not saying Ashley was one of these people, not saying that every example that we brought up today is an example of this, but you do have the occasion where a young lady goes, I despise so-and-so. How can I maybe take a jab at them? Maybe I'll go public and say, oh, he touched me or he assaulted me. Not saying that every case is like this, just saying that there are cases out there where people want to, they do want to do just that. They want to ruin someone else's life and go, oh, well, he touched me, he sexually assaulted me, even though that person hasn't done it.
And that, not saying it in the proper way, but you're saying in like, there's people who take advantage of that.
Especially because of, as of recent, the hashtag #MeToo movement. People go, how can I do something bad?
So not to say that does not happen. But the prevalence of false reporting is low, between 2 and 10%.
Okay.
So it's not hyper frequent, but that's not to say it doesn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
A study of 8 U.S. communities, which included 2,059 cases of sexual assault, found a 7.1% rate of false reports. Study of 136 sexual assault cases in Boston found a 5.9% rate of false reports. Researchers studied 812 reports and found 2.1% of results of rates of false report. I'm just going to do that math real fast so that we can 29 times 0, right? Yeah. So of those 2,000 cases, it's only 147 are false. So that's still a far higher rate where we should be taking everyone seriously unless we can prove that it's not true. And I know that there's a fear. Because nobody wants to be branded a rapist. But there's a fear inherently that if somebody makes an accusation, it's going to stick.
Yeah.
But that's not a reason to not say, okay, this person's bringing a claim forward, let's get to the bottom of this. Because guess what? There's celebrities that have been accused of this shit back in the day, and it just kind of sloughed off. Now it's being taken more seriously nowadays, but you also have chronic offenders.
Yeah.
I'm in summary, the false reporting is percentage so low that we should never use that as an excuse to not take somebody as credible until we prove that they're not.
Yeah.
That's my take on that part. If somebody else would like to make a comment, go for it.
I think it's, we can always just say like, oh, well, we don't need to do anything about it, whether we're a victim or we're a perpetrator.
Yeah.
Of it. But if we're a victim or know of a victim that you see is suffering because they can't let it out or they're afraid of what it's going to do to them publicly, you can still find that person help. You can still find a way to be like, look, I know you don't want to publicize this, but if you need help, don't be scared to ask. Don't be afraid to reach out, because honestly, we shouldn't live in a world of fear or in a world of, oh, my reputation. Like, fuck your reputation. And I know we're limiting on how much cursing we do on the show, but fuck your reputation. Honestly. You're going through something, go get help. You're afraid of what you're gonna look like in front of your peers. If they're really the people they say they are around you, they will be there for you.
Yeah.
No matter what the consequence or situation is. Again, I'm always advocating for help for anyone and everyone. And the bad thing is unfortunately lately we live in a society, in a country where we're run by somebody who in his own right has done some pretty dastardly things and said some horrible things to imply on a woman, and that it's okay, which it's not. Everything that Ashley went through is horrible. The fact that I'm pretty sure she tried to find some kind of help and no one would do it for her or help her with it is just as horrible. And I get it. Maybe she was still in fear and that's why she retired so early, because of everything that was probably going on inside. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking for help. Yeah. It shouldn't mean that she should have not had been given the proper help she needed. She deserved it. Everyone deserves to get the right treatment and the right help always, not to be left wondering like, oh, I'm stuck with this quote unquote problem. I don't know what to do.
We talked Dan, you brought up the whole thing about it's actually a plus that if you do bring this stuff up and bring it to light and bring attention to it. There's 3 people in the WWE today, who sometimes I feel like probably might have left us a long time ago had they not gotten the help. Those people being Kurt Angle, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy. All 3 of these guys had a WWE 24 documentary on the network. And specifically with the Hardy Boys, there was even footage of TNA in there. And you look at it and it's graphic, but it's not graphic. It's like you see these guys in the middle of an interview who just go, and like they lose consciousness and they come back like, Matt, Jeff, hey, you there? It's hard to watch, yes, but by the same token, I'm like, no, get this out there. Let people see it, because I think while it's hard to watch, it's inspirational, if anything, because that might inspire someone who probably has, a drug problem or a drinking problem of, oh shit, that's what awaits me. Okay, maybe it's time to get help.
Yeah, if I can spin off that for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know if the footage is in there, but one of the big things for Jeff specifically is Victory Road.
Yeah. Sting match?
Yeah. I don't remember what year that was.
I think it was
2011.
Yeah.
But that's an instance of it's right there in your face. You cannot avoid it.
Yeah.
So you have to address it. And you look at him now and you go, good for you. Now, I don't know if he might secretly still dabble. I don't know. I'm not imposing that on him. I'm not suggesting that. I don't know his life.
Yeah.
But he seems to have cleaned up his act. He seems to be more pulled together, more focused, and good. Because you had those videos where they were posting online and they were talking shit to CM Punk and all that stuff.
Stoned out of their mind, yeah.
And then obviously Victory Road. Jeff is your heavyweight champion, and he comes out and he can barely stand. And he's just dicking around with Sting, and Sting goes, nah, we're done. Hits him with the Scorpion Death Drop, force pins him.
Yeah.
And just takes the belt and leaves. And you hear, because I watched that, and you hear Sting going up the ramp, and the audience is pissed because this was your main event. And they're going, this is bullshit. And he's going, I agree.
Yep.
I agree. And he just goes. But they couldn't have Jeff out there like that, making himself or Sting a liability. Because of one person's personal demons, one person's struggles.
And it's not to say that, something like that is not scripted. Something like that is not like, oh yeah, we're playing it. No. At that point in Jeff's life, he was really in a bad spot.
Matt as well.
And so was Matt. And you would like to think that all these wrestlers, what they go through is gonna stay private, but it's not. Sometimes it spills out into the public eye, as far as they got arrested, or
And sometimes it's for the best, honestly.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but sometimes it's good that your shit gets aired in these situations, because it can save your fucking life.
Another guy was Mike Kanellis, who, it was a YouTube special, but it's like this 20-minute video where he's like, yeah, I had a drinking problem and I needed to get help.
Yeah.
well, you know what? Even this particular person to this day seeks help. Yeah, I'm watching the Jeff Hardy thing. Scott Hall. He has been through years and years of drug and alcohol abuse.
Jake the Snake as well.
And they've admitted, I need help. I need to seek some kind of guidance. And luckily they found it. They found a way to address their issues. They found a way to speak to someone about it. And again, you have to give credit to anyone who looks for help at one point in their life. It's scary, but it shouldn't be. It should never be an issue to anyone to ask for help. And, it's a good thing, that these people seek the help they needed. To the ones that couldn't, I'm hoping that at least someone helps their family. Because I'm sure Ashley's daughter is She's barely 18. She's traumatized about what happened to her mother.
She's the one suffering now.
Yeah. And you put that into perspective, like, who's to say that she won't suffer? Who's to say that she won't be dealing with, like, oh, my mom was raped. My mom was violated. Like, she worked for a company that never took care of her. Like,
and so now she has this trauma to carry of, well, now I don't have a mother because some people were negligent and some other people did some bad things, and now she's gonna have this. She may have this jaded look at the world now. Like, these people took my mom.
What kind of shocked me more than anything was the fact that the other people that were with her just said, "Okay, we're out here." I didn't really understand that. I'm like, how do you just leave her and, like, okay, we're gone, like, off we go, good luck. You don't leave someone like that abandoned in a country where they don't even know where
they're not welcome.
Yeah, or they don't know how to navigate, or like where to go, like who's who. You know, I mean,
it's not like it was Toronto or Montreal or London. It was Saudi Arabia, where they don't take kindly to her type here, which is women.
where's blonde woman?
Blonde women. And honestly, she probably wasn't wearing a ton of clothes by comparison to what they would wear there. Because she said in the thing that she had already given away the burqa, which would have been covering her, and so she didn't have that anymore. So then she's just in regular ass clothes.
Yeah.
So that's just a bad situation all around. It's bad. That's bad. That's what I'm saying. That's bad publicity for the company. Like, you're not covering that's your biggest concern, that's not doing a good job. Oh, well, don't talk about the rape, but we're going to leave you alone in the country where it happened. Have fun. I'd like to think that they carry themselves better now that they've made adjustments. It seems like there's a better brotherhood within the locker room, where they kind of look out for each other more now.
Well, it's not the whole thing of like, hey, boys will be boys, and like,
well, no,
like shit like that. It shouldn't be like, yeah, boys will be boys, but at the same time, it's like, don't push each other into the whole bullying thing, which leads to people feeling like scared victims, but they can't say anything.
Let me just throw this in there, because I know there's that whole thing of like, oh, guys are monsters. It's like, I'm sorry, there was a chick guarding the door while all this was happening. And I think even Ashley mentioned, she's like, that young lady who was guarding the door didn't even blink an eye when this was going on. It's like, there's a point where you're like, okay, maybe I should tell this guy that's enough, step back, enough. She didn't even blink an eye. She's like,
it's not even that she didn't do anything about it. It's the fact that she even let it happen to begin with.
Which is why I want to throw
it. But the thing is, we can't just not victim blame, but like more like, we can't just say, men are bullies, women are bullies. Anyone in particular that has malcontent is a bully. It doesn't matter what gender, race you are.
Yeah.
If you're someone who is okay with bad things happening to good people, then you're that bad of a person. I don't care who you are, what you are. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Ashley acknowledges that the point I was really trying to get to is that Ashley makes the comment in the affidavit, apparently, that she doesn't think this would have happened if somebody had stayed with her.
Yeah.
And that's probably true, because sometimes that's all it takes. I've been in situations with friends who are being harassed or who have been assaulted, that just having somebody nearby diverts this malcontent from some people. I had that happen as recently as 2 days ago with somebody, where just having somebody in the proximity, diffused the whole situation, so nothing bad came at all. And that's this situation nowhere near the severity of what we're talking about. Let me be clear. about that. But what I was getting at is I think there's a stronger sense of brotherhood within the locker room now, where I don't think you would have a situation like that, where you have people who, at least to a degree, kind of put other people under their wing and say, I'm going to watch out for you.
I don't know if this is an example, but ride along, how now that people travel together as opposed to everybody's,
Well, technically, I mean, even back in the day, they rode together. Some of them would ride in like groupings or like in pairs because like, oh, hey, you guys are going to work together now as far as like opponents or as tag partners.
Yeah.
And they would share the road together. I just think if you are in a situation, you should never be alone.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, granted, we live under a model that like we can take care of ourselves, but again, it's okay to have help. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, I don't want to be alone.
And I know there's always, not to say that Ashley was this way, but there's always that whole stigma of like, I don't need a therapist to tell me what my problems are. I don't need a therapist to tell me how to solve my problems. Yeah, I get that, but you suffering alone 24/7, is that making things better? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like Dan, to relate to that, like one of the smallest gestures for me is like if I'm ever dropping somebody off, I wait until they get in their car. I wait until they get in their house. Doesn't matter if it's a guy or a girl or whatever.
It's just a protective thing.
Yeah, even though they're like, no, drive off. Like, I'm good. I'm like, no, you can get into your car first, lock the door, then I will leave, because it's just, you never know. Like, circumstance, can happen at any time.
It shouldn't matter what the situation be. You should always just still be there.
Yeah.
Like, I've done the same thing for, like, people, regardless if you're male or female. Like, you never know what your surroundings are. You never know what's out there.
Yeah. But, like, I can almost guarantee you that nowadays, and part of this could be because there's so many relationships that happen in WWE. But Seth would never let Becky be left alone in a situation like that. Braun or Buddy would never allow Alexa to be alone in a situation like that.
Oh, I'm pretty sure, like, Andrade would never let Charlotte be on her own.
Or Zelina. If Alistair wasn't available, I can almost promise you Andrade would probably just be there and be like, look, I'm going to take care of you because somebody has to.
Yeah.
Or even the other way around.
Other way around, exactly. Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure Zelina would not want anything bad to happen to Alistair or to Andrade, or the same thing with Charlotte not wanting anything to happen to him, or even anything happening to Seth.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you hear a lot of moments where, so-and-so is going to get into a scuffle, but there's always the breakup of, hey, okay, like, let's go. So, like, there's that one person protecting the other guy of, hey, it's not worth it, just come over here, let's go. Diffusing the situation, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Yeah.
But I don't think that was the nature of the company or the nature of the locker room back then, where they really looked after each other. And I think that's changed. I think I'm going to go off and say I think it's a generational thing. Because I think there's a general sense of more concern for others, no offense to older generations, within this generation. The people who are 38 to 24. I think that they just generally, they will connect with people in at least a protective manner, where they'll be like, look, I wouldn't want it to happen to me. I'm not going to let it happen to you. It's a general respect thing. Like, there's even people that, like, I don't really like, that if the situation came about where they were in a position like that, I would not leave them. I just wouldn't. Because it's reckless, and I'll hazard to say, most people, there's probably a hint of selfishness in it, where you're like, I don't want to later find out this happened, and have it on my conscience that I could have stopped.
You could have, yeah.
I think it's not even that. I think what it is just that, like,
I don't think that's the primary thing. There's going to be an
I get
element
it.
of that.
But my thing is, it's like we're all susceptible to being human in regards to like, yeah, I have a disdain for someone. I don't like someone. But we're humane to be like, if I see someone, that same person being hurt, violated, beaten, or put in an uncomfortable situation, I'll still stand my ground in front of the situation and be like, no, you need to back off. You need to stop. Whatever you're planning to do to this person, I may not like them, but you're not going to do that to them.
Especially because we all, for those of you who don't know, we all used to work, at the same place. You would have the occasional, person who would come in and would try to confront or would try to, scare one of, your fellow peers that you work with. And of course, even in that nature, you want to diffuse the situation where you get a manager or you go up and you say, hey, you need to calm down.
So that they're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen instances where fellow coworkers have cried, have stressed, have just, panicked in the moment. But the least that I could have done was try to go to them either during or after and go, hey, are you okay? Can I do anything for you? Usually the answer was, I need a second to be to myself. Okay, that's fine. But bottom line is, especially when I don't even going back to your point, it could be Canada, it could be London or whatever. I still disagree with the fact of let it be Canada, let it be whatnot. You don't leave someone that you are traveling with alone.
I agree. I was just using those as examples where it doesn't matter who you are. You're probably you're probably
aware
get
of your
by.
situation.
Yeah.
As opposed to somewhere that expressly has laws in place and has a culture built around discriminating against specific people. That was my whole point with that. But no, I understand your point. I wouldn't either. Somebody should have been like, look, I'll stay with her. I know nothing else really happened according to the story from that point other than I got left. But still, somebody should have been like, look, I'll hang back too. I'll reschedule the flight, whatever. And then she has company to make sure that she gets places safe, that she makes it back okay.
Yeah, man, that's
look out for people. Let's bring this around to something a little bit more positive. Look out for each other. Listen to people. Be there for your friends, your family, those that you care about. Shit, those that you don't care about. Just be
a human.
Be a person. Be a star.
Be a humane individual.
About that.
It was just a little peppered in joke. But yeah, everyone could use an ear.
And I don't know if you're okay with me mentioning these hotline numbers, but I think it should
Go ahead.
be.
Yes.
If you do need help, you're scared to talk to individuals around you that are your friends, your family, or whatever, there is hotlines you can call. Hell, you can even, as I Google them, you can chat with someone online about it. I'm literally going to put out the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number. It's 1-800-273-8255, or even for the National Sexual Assault Hotline, it's 1-800-656-4673. Again, there's ways of getting help.
Yeah.
There's manners of finding that help. Don't ever think that you're alone. Don't ever think that you have no one to talk to. Yeah, the first step is always the hardest as far as admitting you need help. But again, I'm not afraid to say that it's hard to do, but it is. And trust me, when I asked for it, it's there. You shouldn't be afraid either. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
I just wanted to bring everything full circle and say that, I want to say that roughly 2014, 2015 is where I think that social media and just platforms all around started advocating that, hey, you know what? Mental health is a priority. And I think that there's even, shirts out there where you see people wearing it now where it says mental health is a priority. And you see people especially podcasts now have they do this where they have people come on and talk about their issues. Lacey Evans, to me, like, I kind of saw her like in a new light when I saw her on Lillian Garcia's podcast. Just where she comes from and why she's actually a professional wrestler right now. People think, oh, because she's loved it since she was a little girl.
And
no.
why she's devoted her career into doing this.
Yeah. Long story short, she's doing it because she wants every child out there to feel loved, to feel like they have like a mother or a guardian or, you know, a parent figure in their life. And so I guess I wanted to bring it full circle again and just say, it's tough because I've been there too. It's tough to sometimes tell people the gory details for fear of that someone's going to laugh at me, someone's going to ridicule me, someone's going to say, you're going through that, what the hell is wrong with you? But I know that there's someone out there who'll go, you know what, it might sound silly, but I understand. I get where you're coming from. So I guess trying to advocate on top of that to all the numbers that you just threw out, it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be hard. But it's also gonna be a breakthrough to talk to someone and realize why you're going through what you're going through, how you can get past it, how you can minimize it, how you can minimize the frequency on a daily basis. So that's my piece. Does anybody else have any closing remarks before we wrap up?
Again, never be afraid to ask for help. Never be afraid to ask for a friend. Whenever you need something, just let someone know. Find someone who you can genuinely trust. Or if not, find the right outlet. Don't look towards the bad outlets for help.
And I will just say this. There are instances where you open up to someone and the other person is not exactly that receptive to the information you're giving them. You know, they might give you something that you don't want to hear. Doesn't mean that you say, okay, well, if one person doesn't understand me, no one's going to understand me. You know, sometimes it takes a second or two to find that one person who can help you out, who can understand where you're coming from. Heck, could maybe even recommend a therapist or a shrink or someone that you can talk to or a program that you can go through to help you with your troubles. So, yeah.
Dan, any closing thoughts?
No, I've said my piece.
So, very, very, one of the more harder and tougher episodes to get through, but we did it. Just wanted to say, rest in peace, Ashley Massaro. Thanks for the memories.
May you rest easy, and may your family hopefully be in a better place.
Our condolences, our thoughts and prayers is with the Massaro family. And that's pretty much it for now.